Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to the regular October 7th meeting of Council. I'd first like to recognize we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. Our clerk tonight will be Ms. Nicolina Verkar. We also anticipated maybe getting one councillor who's a long ways away in by electronic means, but that doesn't appear to have worked. Tonight's regular meeting of Council is being held in accordance with the Community Charter and Council Procedure Bylaw 2018, number 7272. If during the meeting any member of the gallery has a question regarding an agenda item, please write down your name and the agenda item on the question period sign-up sheet, which is on the table by the double doors to my left. If during the meeting any member of the gallery has a question regarding a matter that was considered by Council today, please sign up on the sheet located on the table by the double doors. Please note that the Council Procedure Bylaw has been updated, so questions will only be taken on staff reports, consent items, and other business items. Before we start the meeting, I would like to take a few moments to remind those who are attending in person about the rules of decorum for all council and committee meetings. A meeting of council is intended to be a place where democracy can freely take place in a respectful and safe manner. The council chambers is a workplace, and there are considerations council and staff must make to ensure that a safe work environment exists in accordance with WorkSafe BC regulations. To support this, disrespectful conduct will not be tolerated, so we ask that there be no cheering, no jeering, or other outbursts from the gallery at any time. This will ensure that anyone speaking, whether it be a delegation, member of council, or staff, is not interrupted and can make their point freely and without distraction or fear of ridicule. In instances where a speaker is being inappropriate or has exceeded their time limit, their microphone will be cut off. Similarly, if there are outbursts by any person in the gallery, they will be asked to stop, and if they do not comply, they may be asked to leave as permitted under Section 133 of the Community Charter. If necessary, Council may call a recess in order to reset the environment of the Council chambers, and it is our belief that if everyone is respectful of these very basic considerations, this meeting and future meetings will be more effective in furthering the business of the City of Nanaimo. The first item on the agenda is the introduction of late items, Ms. Verkar, and we have a few. Please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The late items are Agenda Item 12B, rezoning application number RA 507, 1415 Lode Street, adding delegation from Mimi Fay, and adding Agenda Item 15A, Councillor Eastmere's introduction of notice of motion regarding temporary free parking within city-owned parkades. That's all.
Thank you very much. Motion for adoption of the agenda as amended. Moved Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Eastmere. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. A motion for adoption of the minutes is circulated. Moved Councillor Armstrong, seconded Councillor Eastmere. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Mayor's report. I have a few items, not too many tonight. But I do want to recognize that a very well-known local Olympic hero, Ethan Katzberg, on September 26, 2024, was feted at the Rotary Stadium, our gold medalist winner at this year's Summer Olympics in Paris. On behalf of Council, I would like to extend thanks and very sincere appreciation to City staff, Pacific Sports, Nanaimo Track and Field Club, School District 68 classes who filled the stands, to the dignitaries who attended and spoke, those who attended, and particularly and very importantly, the participation of the former Olympians and Paralympian at an event that can only be described as an atmosphere of incredible joy and outpouring of support to Ethan winning the gold medal in Paris. We know when youth are in sports, the benefits of empowering, inspiring, building confidence, improving health, and building communities is clearly evident, and our own Ethan Katzberg proved it. So again, thank you to everyone who made that event the incredible success that it was. Actually drew a little national coverage to our wonderful city. A reminder that October is Emergency Preparedness Month in Nanaimo. For the 5th year in a row, the city will be dedicating the month of October to raising awareness of emergency preparedness. The city encourages everyone to be ready for everything from fires and earthquakes to storms and power outages. And I don't wish to scare anyone, but it has been noted we've had a couple minor tremors in the last few weeks. Fire Prevention Week, which runs from October 6th to 12th, will focus on smoke alarms, make them work for you. Later in the month, Nanaimo Fire Rescue will host an open house at Fire Station Number 1 on October 23rd. On October 17th, 2024, prepare to drop, cover, and hold on as the province-wide Great BC Shakeout Earthquake Drill will take place at 10:17 a.m. Residents can participate by registering at www.shakeoutbc.ca and listening in for the drill on 102.3 FM The Wave or 106.9 FM The Wolf radio stations. Also beginning at 10:17 a.m. on October 17th, the test alert for the city's emergency alert system, Voyant Alert, will be sent out. Residents can visit www.nanaimo.ca /go-to/alerts to sign up for Voyant Alert if they haven't done so already. And please watch for more about emergency preparedness throughout the month of October on the city's Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram feeds at City of Nanaimo, through radio and print and online on the city's website at www.nanaimo.ca /go-to-emergency management. Nanaimo Fire Rescue is participating in Fire Prevention Week, and again, as I outlined, the theme is smoke alarms, make them work for you. They have some important tips about smoke alarms, and I hope everyone's paying attention. Install them outside your bedroom and sleeping area and on every level of your house. Make sure that all smoke alarms work by testing them every month and replacing the 9-volt batteries at least once a year or according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Please practice a home fire escape plan so everyone in the home knows what to do when the smoke alarm sounds. Replace your smoke alarms every 10 years or according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Replace broken or expired smoke alarms and drop them off for free at over 200 recycling locations across BC. Check the What Goes Where tool in the Nanaimo Recycles app for locations here. And in addition to Fire Prevention Week, the Nanaimo Fire Rescue is hosting, as I say, the open house on October 23rd, 2024 at 666 Fitzwilliam Street. And again, for any more information, visit the Fire and Rescue page on www.nanaimo.ca. And finally, the City Council is accepting applications for the appointment of one member to the Board of Directors of the Nanaimo Port Authority. The Nanaimo City Council is on the lookout for an individual interested to help steer the ship on the Nanaimo Port Authority Board of Directors. Notice the pun, you didn't laugh, I'm very crushed, but I did tell you not to express any emotion during the meeting, and I'm very pleased at that. The current term is 3 years with an option for 2 extensions, a total of up to 9 years. In order to support the Nanaimo Port Authority Board of Directors in completing their work, the successful candidate should have experience in business, community service, the financial sector, legal/governance, marine operations, marine transportation, port operations, and Indigenous relations. For more information about the role, including preferred skills and abilities, again, visit the city's website at www.nanaimo.ca /go-to/committees. Interested applicants must submit a completed application and form to the Legislative Services Department by 4 p.m. on Wednesday, October the 9th, 2024, or you can mail or drop in person to Legislative Services 455 Wallace Street, Nanaimo, V9R 5J6, or email legislative.servicesoffice@nanaimo.ca. And that is it for the Mayor's report. We have nothing to rise and report on tonight, Ms. Ricard. And the first item on the agenda is item 8, presentations, and Mr. Dave, President and CEO, and Jana Gillick, a member of the Board of Directors of the Nanaimo Airport Commission, Arena Nanaimo Airport, YCD updates. Welcome to the two of you.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Mayor and Council, for having me tonight. My name's Dave Devana. I'm the President and CEO of the Nanaimo Airport, and Jana Gillick is your representative on the board. Been her 4 years? 4 years, wow. Okay, so I understand I have 15 minutes, so I'm going to get started. We're prepared to answer questions if you would like, both of us. All right, for our acknowledgement, we're located on traditional territory of the Staminas and the Sinamuk First Nation. Nanaimo Airport respectfully acknowledges and thanks First Nation for caring for these lands and waters since time immemorial. And I can tell you that we are working with both of them very closely. We letter intent with the idea of forming a long-term partnership is our goal. The airport, we're located, is 522 acres. It's runway 6,602 feet. We're the most centrally located airport on Vancouver Island, which we promote. And we're the only airport that could be serviced by passenger rail in the event we had passenger rail on the island. And we think that's a key factor for us moving forward. Our board, we have a board of 9. It's similar to the port. We have three-year terms that you can sit on the board. And we have what we call 5 entities. They're not owners, but they do represent the City of Nanaimo, the Regional District, Ladysmith, the CVRD, and the Nanaimo Chamber. And then we have 4 members at large, Jana being your member. Our vision. So, you know, we want to be the gateway for Vancouver Island because we're the most centrally located airport. We think there's lots of opportunity for us to grow as also being the fastest growing community in British Columbia, here in the greater Nanaimo area. Where our mission, you know, we want to be financially sustainable, high quality service. We're known for all these things already. The board in the last 3 years put together a new strategic plan, and these 4 things here are the pillars that so before we just used to talk about strengthening our core business, and then we went through COVID. And we figured, well, we better diversify our income because our income went down 96% during COVID. Just happened to be my first month. You know, so it was a tough time. So we've been working on diversity. I'll talk about a little bit that later. Strengthening relationships with our partners, and we added in First Nations reconciliation. Very important, high priority of our board. And we feel we have a really strong relationship with both the Staminas and the Sineemuk. We really have an overlapping territory on where we're situated. And then minimize our environmental impact. We're very proud, and I'm going to talk about this later. Our goal is for airport operations. That's just us, not the airlines, not any of our partners, just what we do. Our goal is to be net zero, and we're already carbon neutral. And then pursue excellence in our operations. Of course, that is something that we are, and we're very well known for our customer service, especially with our blue navigators, which you would see if you were at the airport. Who do we serve? So the dark blue, we call that our primary catchment area. Over 300,000 people live in that area. It goes all the way to Port Alberni, Ucluelet, Tofino. But primarily it's Nanaimo, Parksville, Qualicum, Cowichan Valley. And we work our way, some people come up from the Malahat to the airport. But we think that is important, 98% of Vancouver Island's population could get to our airport in less than 2 hours. That's a key factor as us being the most centrally located, and we think that's a good selling point for especially if we were to get passenger rail. So back in 2009, we did a major renovation at the airport. We extended our runway to 6,602 feet from 5,000 feet. We put in an instrument landing system and a new lighting system. And you can see we're at 148,000 passengers in 2009. By 2019, we had grown over 200%. We were the fastest growing airport in British Columbia. And then we hit COVID. This, and I joke around, but where it says COVID-19, that's where I started. And so I'm either going to be the fastest growing airport manager in the history of the airport, or you know, I had to live through the COVID-19. We went down to 174,000 passengers in the first year, and half of those passengers came in the first 3 months before Bonnie Henry and the world announced on March 17th that we were going to go through COVID-19. That brought us back basically to where we were in 2009. And then we sort of inched our way out of it. And now we're at 377,000, which is at 77% of what we were in 2019. So we have not fully recovered, and I'm going to talk to you about the reasons why. We had an old study. We decided we would do a new study to see what is our total impact. So we found directly from airport operations and all the things we do there, it was $31 million, and it creates jobs and taxes and all these other things. And then if you look at outside, if you look at the external factors, which we really found out during COVID, that the airport's really important to the economy. And $44 million more is what, tourism and spending of our passengers and all that. So really it's about $75 million a year for what goes on at the airport. So we all have to pay attention if we want the economy to do well. Same with the port and any other transportation things that we do. I thought I would show you this just to give you an idea of where we generate our revenue. So we're a $10 million business. Of that, aeronautical revenues, passenger fees, regulatory fees, things related to the direct airport operations are 34%. Non-aeronautical are 34%. And that's and 67% of that is parking. Parking brings in as much money as all of the passengers combined in a year. Now that's right now because our fees are very low, and we do charge people for parking. When we were at 500,000, the numbers were a little bit different, but at this 2003, our non-aeronautical revenues are important. But when the passengers go away, the parking goes away, so it ends up being zero anyways, like it was during COVID. But if we could get passenger rail, then what we think will happen, the parking will go down, and the aeronautical revenues will go up. And it's good for the climate. So here's our story. In 2019, we started counting our emissions, probably like you did here at the city. And then we started to reduce. We started to electrify our lighting system, electrify our vehicles, try and become as carbon neutral as we could. And then we buy offsets for the rest. So right now, we're buying our offsets from the Great Bear Carbon Credit Corporation. And we've actually bought more than we need. And so we call it net climate positive, 150 tons over the last 5 years. And we're very proud of this. But we didn't just stop there. So we had an opportunity to partner with Pollination Canada. And what they did is they came into our garden areas that we have at the airport. We have a lot of kind of surplus property around. And they said, look, those are a lot of non-native species. They're not really bee friendly and pollinator friendly. And so we changed our gardens all around. They came in, did it, we paid, but they did the work. And we increased our pollinators by 20 times at the airport. And so we're proud of that as well. You probably know this, but the airports, we are in the community. We're helping sponsor things. So we're heavily involved in the education system, providing scholarships at the high school level, at the university level. We sponsor, 39 it says here, community type events. And we are big donors at both the Cowichan District Hospital and the Nanaimo District Hospital. And the reason we are is that we feel that if the community is stronger, the airport's stronger. And so the hospitals, we know, we have the Fair Care initiative. They've done a tremendous job at explaining the issues that are going on. And we want to support that because we want to see Nanaimo have all the infrastructure that it requires to be successful. What do we do in 2023? I'm not talking about 2024, it's not over. Well, a little bit I am in the next slide. But we had the first Boeing MAX 8 737 land at the airport. We were always told it could not land at our airport. But Air Canada had an extra 94 passengers one day, and it didn't fit in a Dash 8 Q400. And so they advised us that they were going to fly this plane in. And we only can take narrow-body planes. So narrow-body plane means one aisle. We cannot take a 2-aisle plane where you see like 4 seats in the middle and 3 on the outsides. We can't do that. We never will be able to do that, not with the current airport configuration. But this plane, if you want a long haul or longer haul flight to Toronto, for example, this plane can do it. And now, because of this plane coming in, this one, Calgary is now flying a 737-800 into Nanaimo every day because of this one test flight. Pacific Coastal, we brought them on to fly to Kelowna. They were flying to Vancouver, but there's a lot of competition in Vancouver, so they've discontinued that route. But they are being very successful in us advocating for and them agreeing to fly. And Kelowna has been a very successful route, and we expect to expand our services with Pacific Coastal in the future. It's unique because they run the smaller planes, they service BC. We've been a finalist again for our marketing initiatives with AC North America. We've been, we did a partnership with Halifax, and then we didn't win out of the 3, we got an honorable mention. Then we did another one with Edmonton and Yellowknife, and we got an honorable mention again. And then this year we did the perfect pairing, we called it, based on wine, with Kelowna, and we are up for an award yet again. And so hopefully, third time lucky, we will be the North American winner. We also have been finalists this year. We did a Give Them Wings event. We invited over 50 First Nations children, or under 24 they were, to participate in a day at the airport so they could learn about our business and see if it would be of interest to them. And we put that one in, and I actually think that's the one that we're probably going to get the recognition finally in North America as the number 1, not the number 2 or 3. And then we changed their website. Recent improvements. Over COVID, we didn't really have a need for a lot of equipment, but the government was giving out money so we could get new equipment. And so we bought, a new snowblower, which is the red machine. We got the plow truck, which is the yellow machine. We got a new sweeper, front-end loader, tractor. We're in good shape. Our equipment is in good shape at the airport at this point. We also decided during COVID, the government had an interest in spending some money to bring up the economy. And we put in an application for $14 million to resurface the runway, create runway safety areas, regroove the runway, put in a concrete pad on apron, moved to a pushback environment, created a 5th parking stall for planes, and the government gave us $7 million, and we completed that project. It was done. So our airside environment is looking like this. It all is new. And the picture in the middle is before and after, kind of, sort of halfway through when it's grooved and it rains. It used to look like the far part, like a lake, and now it looks like the closer part, which is the grooved part. 2023. So remember I said back in 2009 we put in this lighting system? Well, this is it, the simplified short approach lighting system. But it was just sitting on tiny little concrete piles. And the problem is that the Haslam Creek has a tendency to get full of water in November to January, like a lot of water. And it floods nearby the airport. And we happen to own this piece of land, which is a piece of farmland that we hay. But our lights had all this woody debris, like a lot. And they were going to knock down the lights. If they knocked down the lights, we're out of business. So the engineers came up with a good idea, put it on piles like a bridge, and if the debris comes, it won't harm the lights. And so we did this project in 2023. And then there are a bunch of other things, renovating the rental area for the national in the budget, and updating our HVAC for climate, and all this other stuff. Now what are we working on? In 2024, so every airport, well, not every airport, Victoria Airport and Comox Airport, they have what's called a SALZAR, a short simplified approach lighting system, which we have, but we don't have the runway alignment indicator lights, which are those running lights that sort of, and so those lights make it easier for you to see, if you're a pilot, to see the lights. If you see the lights, you'll land the plane. And we have put off doing this project because it wasn't affecting us in 2019. Business was growing, we were confident. I'm just gonna get to this. But in 2024, in the winter, so the January to March, we had, and all this system is to put 5 more lights, and we're doing some vegetation management along the pathway, the flight path. But we had 114 flight cancellations in 3 months because we don't have this lighting system here. And let me see. So we want to move away from the TP312 4th edition, non-precision approach, which means that you got to be able to see the runway, to a precision approach where the airport, they're relying more on the equipment. And this graph here, if you see the green plane, it says in 2010, the pilot would fly in. If you could see the runway and the lights at 338 feet, they would land. And then there's been a change in regulation over the last few years. By 2015, it had gone to 373. And by 2023, what we are right now, it's at 441 feet. And if you're at 441 feet, there are 40 days where the cloud cover is too low. And our competitors are the blue plane, which is 200 feet. So both Comox and Victoria are at 200 feet. They fly in 200 feet. If you've ever been in a plane, 200 feet is really low. And they are under the clouds. And if we had 200 feet, we'd only have 3 days in the entire year that would be affected by weather. And so the SALZAR project that we are doing is to get us to a target of 200. We suspect we will get back to 338 by the end of this year, and then there'll be further work to do to improve the lighting, but at least we'll get back to where we were, which will improve our reliability and which will improve whether a carrier will even come to Nanaimo. Super important. And you can see up there, it used to be before 2009 when we had 148,000 passengers, it was 652 feet. I'm going to Revelstoke, their decision points at 2,500. They have no chance, literally to get a commercial airline. But we can make it, and that's what we're trying to do. This is our future plan. This is when we're 1 million plus passengers at the airport. We're at 378, so this is all ways off. We thought it would be much closer, but before COVID happened. The idea is to have more check-in hall, which is on the upper side there, where it says check-in hall. We have 8 stalls now. We'd like to have 18, which is more like a Kelowna type situation. And we would like, we just have the holding room 1 and 2. We don't have those right now. They're new. And then the baggage out, that's the #1 thing that the air sector, the airlines want. We have, if you've ever been into our facility, we have a tent. You go in and they organize things in the tent, and then it comes out. It's not really, the slickest one that you have. And then finally, we would like to have it enhance arrivals. We say that phase 2 of this, parts of it, would be triggered when we hit 600,000 passengers. But when we have 1 million, you're going to come to a facility, we hope, that will look like this. It says how much that costs. It's a lot of money. And then finally, I think this is my last slide. We have a land use plan at the airport. And we were asked, I think I partially got hired because of my background in municipal government. to help them with the planning. And, you know, some of my former colleagues here, Jeremy and Dave, would laugh that I would be helping with this. But anyway, we've come up with a plan, and we are working with MOT to have 2 intersections into the airport, not one. One's at the a relocated Timberlands, which you'll see on the right side of the thing over by Gateway Commercial South. And then we have another one at the north end, which is what we call Gateway Commercial North. And then we have, the blue stuff is aeronautical related, and the stuff that's not in blue would be more of a commercial nature, but with a need to be at an airport. We're not looking for things that don't need to be at airports. We're not interested in trucking operations and stuff like that. But we have been working with MOT and First Nations to create the new intersections. We're doing preliminary design work now, and it'll be at some time in the future. We hope in the latter part of this decade. And you can kind of see a flavor of some of the things that we're considering. Oh no, I do have another one. We have a sign out front of our office. So this one is what we call Airport North Economic Development Reserve, and there's a little bit darker blue there. That area, we are advocating to have expanded cargo type operations adjacent the green building, or you know, there's a square there beside the planes. That's our administrative building. And so we're hoping to have expanded airside cargo and some industrial that need airside. They have to need to be at an airport, and they have to need to be on the air side, meaning adjacent to the taxiway. And so we are actively pursuing this right now. It will likely be contingent on us doing the north, the Gateway Commercial North intersection with MOT, because we need to have proper access to the airport to be able to do this type of work. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vanna, much appreciated. Questions for the presenter? Councillor Perino, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and a question through you. First of all, excellent presentation, really good, really good.
Thanks.
I think it's regarding the runway approach, but on the north end of the property, where there is actually fencing, where you take the road to go to the golf course, the little golf course there. What is being done there? I happened to be in that area in the last couple of weeks and saw some work being done on the other side, and I wondered
so
what you do.
We own the, if you're going up towards the golf course, we own the
Yes.
stuff on the left.
Yes.
The farm.
Yes.
And our runway approach, our lighting is in that corridor. And we have the Salazar lighting, the 5 additional lights. And so we've been working there. We've working with First Nations, DFO, environment, a whole bunch of approvals to be able to put the lights. So we trying to go in there in the least, with piles, and we put it in the pile, and the lights, the runway alignment lighting system will go in there.
Okay.
It goes right over to, I don't know if you know, but there's Blueberry Farm nearby.
Yes.
It kind of goes over to there.
Okay.
And you can sort of see through there now, and in the past you were unable to see. And we're replanting. We did take some trees down in that area, and we have a replanting plan that's been approved by the Ministry of Environment and DFO to reforest that area with trees that will not be as tall.
Okay, good, good. And another quick question, if I might. How can we help you? Or is there something that you need from us? And maybe I should phrase it that way.
Well, we're talking to, we are talking to Nanaimo Tourism. We are
Yes.
talking to the Prosperity Corp. It's a very highly competitive business now. And what we're trying to do is get our lighting in order, and then so that we can then attract new routes. And so in Victoria and in Comox, they do joint marketing with the city and with the municipal governments to entice the airports, or the airlines, to provide a route. And so we are talking to them about that. We've broached that subject of some assistance. And then the other thing that we're having, the passenger rights legislation is a struggle for regional airlines. And the reason is if you have a delay of 3 to 6 hours, it's a $400 fine. If you have a delay of 6 to 9 hours, it's a $700 fine, and 9 plus is a $1,000 fine. Well, if you only have one flight to Toronto a week, or even a day, like in 2018, the airlines are not going to risk it. They're not going to come here, because if they get one flight that's delayed because of them, it's not like Vancouver where you have a backup flight in 3 hours and you can get on your way. And so their profitability is gone. Okay. So it's just a struggle. We do talk to the government about it. So we don't usually engage the local government as much in our little problems, but that is an issue that we're having. There's regulatory creep that is upon us, and it's drove up that decision point for pilots. And there's just, so every once in a while we might show up and ask for support, but they're complicated issues. And
Makes sense. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thanks, Mayor, through you. Thanks for the presentation. That was really interesting. And I was just curious, is it increasing cloud cover and weather that sort of the distance that we had to, the plane's got to be able to see the lights has increased, and cancellations?
Well, so when we were at 338, it was pretty good. They would come down 338, they could see the lights, and for the most part, our reliability is around 98%. That's used to be 70 before we put in the instrument landing system and the first lighting system, the SALS lighting system. But now, because of regulatory changes, that original 330 number is now 441, and that just gets you over. You're too high. You're above the clouds instead of being below the clouds.
Right. There's regulatory changes that sort of
it's impacted it, and they went from we had an exemption under what they call TP312 4th edition, and which had a 3% slope for and so the planes come down at 3%, and now our preference would be 2.94. It doesn't seem like much, but if you have any obstructions, any issues, and the cloud cover's there, they will cancel the flight. They won't come and look like they used to. Go, fly over, it's not getting good, go back. They'll just cancel it before they leave.
Interesting, thank you.
They know they have the info, and they know what conditions we have approved. So it's really important if we want to have a viable airport to get this number lower.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
That's
much
it.
Appreciated.
All right, thank you very much.
Much success, please. The next item are committee minutes just for receipt. The minutes of the Finance and Audit Committee meeting held on Wednesday, September 25th. With respect to consent items, Councillor Hemmens.
Your Worship, I'd like to remove 10A and declare a conflict. I'm on the board.
Very good. Then I would ask for a motion for adoption of all the consent items save 10A.
Thank you.
Sorry, one, pardon me, 10A1. Moved Councillor Hemmens, seconded Councillor.
Sorry. Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, Your Worship. Sorry.
That's okay. Moved Councillor Hemmens, seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Councillor Hemmens will remove herself while we vote on 10A1. Moved by Councillor Perino, seconded by Councillor Manley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Someone can ask Councillor Hemmens to come back in. That was very quick. Thank you very much. We have no delegations unrelated to agenda items. And the first item under Reports 12 is the Development Variance Permit Application number DVP 468-1355 Townsite Road. And Mr. Holm, you're going to introduce that. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, very briefly, this is a development variance permit, proposes to reduce the required minimum lot depth in relation to a two-lot subdivision located between Townsite Road and Bush Street. The requested variance is from 30 meters to 27.3 meters. Properties outlined in red overhead. Notifications taken place, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone present wishing to speak with respect to Development Variance Permit number DVP 468-1355 Townsite Road? Sir, good evening. If you could identify yourself for the record, please.
Of course. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Dave Patey. I'm a planning consultant here on behalf of the owner, La Lily Shen, and I'm here to answer any questions Council may have about the application.
I don't think you're going to be peppered with questions tonight.
I don't think so either.
Thank you very much. There is a recommended motion. Moved Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Armstrong. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Haven't kept you too long tonight. The next is rezoning application number RA 507-1415 Lote Street. Again, Mr. Holm, please.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'll try and be brief on this one again, too. This is rezoning on Lote Street off Departure Bay Road, Departure Bay area. The property is designated neighborhood center in city plan, the official community plan. There are concept plans presented for the proposed rezoning, which would propose to rezone from R5, 3 and 4 unit residential, to row house residential, R7. Concept plans are included as attachment B and C, just to demonstrate what could be developed under the proposed zoning, which is shown as 23 units in 6 buildings. A couple of conditions recommended to be secured as part of the rezoning include community amenity contribution and as well road dedication. I'm happy to take questions on this as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Armstrong, are you left over from before? Thank you. I understand we have a delegation via Zoom, Mimi Fay, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Hi, yes, you are.
Ms. Fay, good evening and welcome. You will have 5 minutes, please, and if you get to 4 minutes, I'll let you know you have a minute left, please.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and good evening. I'm one of the owners, and I just wanted to come on. I wasn't sure what I needed to do for the presentation, and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna do this. It's my very first time. So can I go to the next slide, please? I'm one of 3 owners. Alejandra, myself, and Ellen on the far right. We're 3 friends. We love Departure Bay, and the dream was to come in with our friends and family to develop this lot for intergenerational living, hoping to add some gentle density and you know, make some beauty in this already beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. Next slide, please. I thought I'd add some pictures because Jeremy did such a great job of already summarizing everything as per the staff report. So these are our families. We've come together and we've renovated the existing house on the property and hoping to get this rezoned so we can get that intergenerational dream of ours going. So next slide, please. As Jeremy mentioned earlier, this is the concept plan for the project. I talked to every single one of the residents, our neighbors, during the public engagement, and they raised a couple of concerns, and I just wanted to mention that what we want to do is add the density, but also add value to this neighborhood. So there was one concern about the height of the building, so we actually decreased the height on the back row of whatever you see here. We decreased the height of all that row, and I think we're having a really good relationship with all our neighbors, and a lot of them want to see this development go through. So next slide, please. I'm here to answer any questions as best as I can without getting too technical, but thank you everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you very much. You're well within your time. Not seeing any questions for the delegation. Question for staff, Councillor Thorpe? Sure, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I do have a couple of questions for staff, and I would appreciate their comment. In the staff report, it references community consultation, and it says several comments in support of the development were received. Some attendees expressed some concerns. I'm curious, first of all, was a city staff person at this meeting to record those impressions, or are we taking this as the opinion of the people who held the meeting on behalf of the developers?
Yeah.
So I was there. Oh, sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, through your worship, generally city staff do attend, just observationally.
So city staff were in fact in attendance at that meeting?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
All right, thank you. And if I may, I had a correspondence with a resident from the area regarding the reaction or lack of response from the Departure Bay Neighborhood Association. And what I was informed was, and I stress that this is secondhand information, that this person contacted the DBNA, Departure Bay Neighborhood Association, and the association said that they were sent information about the Lote Street proposal, but were told it was for information purposes only, and at no point were they asked for a response or comment. So again, this is secondhand information, and I just wonder if staff could clarify that for me or comment on that, or are you able to?
Yeah, through your worship. So yeah, rezoning applications are referred to neighborhood associations. As far as I believe, we would invite comment if there was a desire to provide comment on it, or even to engage in dialogue with the neighborhood association as well.
Thank you. I would assume that to be so.
And just out of curiosity, Mr. Holm, there would have been the usual sign going up on the property?
That's correct, Your Worship. There would be signage on the property as well. And I forgot to mention, this is relatively new process-wise, but prior to consideration of first reading, this is a residential project, so under relatively new provincial legislation, where council's prohibited from holding a public hearing, but the process now includes statutory notification prior to consideration of first reading, so that would have occurred prior to tonight.
Thank you very much. Not seeing any other questions for staff. Councillor Manley? If you could read the first part of the first motion.
I move that zoning amendment bylaw 2024 number 4500.232 to rezone 1415 Lote Street from 3 and 4 unit residential R5 to row house residential R7 pass first reading.
A seconder, Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Councillor Manley.
I move that zoning amendment bylaw 2024 number 4500.232 pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmens. Any discussion? Councillor Thorpe, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I visited this site, and I'm sure other councillors have as well. And it is, as the developer mentioned, it is a beautiful neighborhood, and I can quite see the potential for rezoning to 3 and 4 unit residential on this site. But I'm sorry, I am challenged to support further density in that particular location. And I think a move from R5 to R7 is a bridge too far for me. I think the question is always how dense is too dense in a given location or situation. So for that reason, I'm not going to be supporting this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of second reading and those opposed? Well, maybe I should read it out in the circumstances. Those in favor, Councillors Eastmere, Gesselbrock, Hemmens, Mayor Krogh, Councillor Prino, Councillor Manley, and those opposed, Councillors Armstrong and Thorpe. The motion carries. Thank you.
May I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes, you may.
Just a very quick question. My understanding, when I drove the area, there is exit out of Lote Street. There's exit both ways. Is that correct? I just wanted to confirm that. Just as something that Councillor Thorpe had said, that I just wanted to confirm that they could in fact come out of the area and go in both directions to move around the city. Is that right?
Yeah, Lote Street is the main entrance. Through your worship,
Right.
Lote Street would be the main entrance.
Yes.
And yeah, when somebody would arrive at Departure Bay.
That's right.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Manley.
I move that zoning amendment bylaw 2024 number 4500.232 pass third reading, and that council direct staff to secure the conditions related to zoning amendment bylaw 2024 number 4500.232 as outlined in the conditions of rezoning section of the staff report dated 2024 October 7 prior to final adoption.
Seconder, Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? And those opposed? Councillors Armstrong and Thorpe. Motion carries. Thank you. And the last item, 12C, vacant buildings. And Mr. Harding, you're going to introduce that? Or pass it over to Mr. LeBerge?
I'm going to quickly pass it over to Mr. LeBerge.
Thank you very much. Mr. LeBerge, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you, Your Worship. Evening, Council. This report is in response to Council direction from the June 17th meeting asking staff to bring back options to regulate vacant properties. I will point out that it lists a number of options, but this is just an information report, and it's not something for Council to make a motion on this evening unless there's further direction given to Council to expand any of the options that were provided. So the report is fairly wholesome. I'll just pause and ask if Council would like me to walk through the report or just take any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. Councillor Perino, Armstrong, and Eastmere in order, please. Nope, sorry. Right. Councillor Armstrong?
For me, I'm quite fine with having read the report. My only questions are, when you talk about will require additional staff resources, if we were to look at that, would you be able to give us the numbers and what the cost factors would be?
Yep, through Your Worship. Really, I think it depends on the scope of the options. For example, if we were looking at a registry type model like Penticton has, then that would rest on the resources of the building department, and I'd have to reach out to the city of Penticton to see how resource intensive it is. And I think probably the second thing we'd have to do is have a bit further exploration of how many properties that would come into question, because in speaking to the fire department, we don't actually have a clear picture of how many properties would be impacted by that legislation.
And I guess my second question too would just be, based on the information you've had and that you met with the fire department, do you not, and I guess if you don't want to answer it, it's fine, do you not think our existing regulations cover off just about everything what we're looking to do without adding additional costs?
If you could just clarify the question.
Well, from my perspective, I think our existing regulations basically deal with all the health and safety issues that we're faced with. It just doesn't have a registry, which will cost us more money. And normally those are also done by complaint driven anyhow, so you're going to get that information without a registry. Is that not correct?
I would agree with that assessment, and kind of the beauty of the response that we use in NIMO is it's proactive to deal with properties that are problems, but we don't put a lot of resources to deal with properties that aren't issues.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eastmere.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong did ask my question about the expected amount of resources, but I feel like it's hard for us to choose one of the options tonight, not having a sense of actually how much money it might cost or how many resources might be required for that. So would it be appropriate, if we were interested in exploring option 2 and 3, to request more detailed information about what kind of a financial commitment that would actually entail?
Yeah, through Your Worship, I think that would be possible. I mean, the other option that we haven't discussed tonight is just creating a standalone vacant property bylaw. And I can use the example of the city of Victoria that uses this approach. And it turns out one of my staff was a bylaw officer in Victoria for a number of years. So I'll just give anecdotally the experience that he reported to me is that he would manage any time about 25 vacant properties himself, and the requirement of their department was that he inspect them twice a month. And so that would be going and making notations, photographs, contacting the owners, and then remediating any issues if it required resecurement, et cetera. And he said that a lot of these files have been open for, he said, years, if not more than a decade. And the feedback he gave me was that he liked the approach at Nanaimo in that we're more proactive in the fact that if buildings get so dilapidated, we'll seek remedial action requirements or nuisance designations, things that'll stylize a response to non-responsive property owners. There they said it was just he kind of described it that they're vicarious property managers for these properties when the owners aren't responsive. So, you know, some of the costs are do you require additional resources? If you go to a model like the city of Penticton, where it's your building department, well, the building department's fully tasked with new development and renovations. I know in speaking to our staff here, they would require additional staff resources for a registry. If it's more of a model like a abandoned building bylaw like the city of Victoria, then it's just going to be, really it's going to shift more of a proactive onus on your enforcement resources here to ensure that the regulations are being fulfilled.
Is there not a cost recovery aspect built into the registry program itself, because the registration includes the annual fee and additional fees for inspection and reinspection, which would go to the building owner?
So through your worship, in the case of the Victoria model, the abandoned building bylaw, there is no cost recovery mechanism built in that type of bylaw. The Penticton bylaw does have a number of escalating fees. The fee for registering each year increases, and they charge for inspections. I think what's important to consider in those fees is what the incentive or purpose of those fees are. I would suggest it's probably to incentivize property owners to either develop them or demolish them or sell them. What those fees and those processes don't do is address the conditions that led it to become vacant in the first place. And and that's why I think as we looked around the province that the majority of municipalities use an approach similar to what we're doing, that we proactively deal with properties that are problematic and not necessarily worry about the rest.
And sorry, going back to Councillor Armstrong's question about whether we have any sense, like we don't currently have a registry, do we have like an estimate of how many vacant buildings we have in Nanaimo, or is that's just not something that the city has at all?
Through the chair, I can't give you a clear number. I mean, I went both to the building department and the fire department, who I thought if anybody might have a good grasp of that, but that's just not a statistic that's enumerated with our current processes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would ask council to note that only if council decides to proceed with options 2 or 3, a motion or direct staff would be required. My read of this, and I think we'd all be pretty obtuse, and we're not. Mr. LaBerge basically said we're a solution in search of a problem here. And frankly, I don't think the good voters of Nanaimo, if they're keeping a building up to snuff, which they're entitled to do, and keep it empty if they wish, would take kind of the concept that the local government was going to impose a fee on them for inspection and reinspection of an empty building, which may be empty for very good, strong personal reasons. So unless I'm seeing somebody move the motion, thank you very much, Councillor Eastmere.
I would like to move a motion to get a better sense of how much option 2 or 3 would cost. I think we have many vacant buildings, and I know we try to be as proactive as possible, but it does put a lot of pressure on the city. And oftentimes, we are waiting for the building to become a problem, and it would be nice to kind of get ahead of it. And I do think there needs to be some onus on the owners of these vacant buildings to make sure that they are maintaining some standard of care on the building, even if it is vacant. And I think we need to have a registry so that we have a sense of how many vacant buildings we have.
So are you moving an option?
Pardon me, yes. So I would move that we...
option 1 or 2? Pardon me, 2 or 3?
To get a staff report on the cost implications of pursuing option 2 or 3.
Is there a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Hemmons. Discussion? I'm not going to support the motion. Okay. Councillor Gesselbrock, I'll let you go first. You put your name on.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, just looking at the different options, I guess my read of the report is basically when a building becomes an issue for being vacant, we kind of have tools to deal with it. Is that correct?
Through your worship, yeah.
Becomes a nuisance.
I think that's a fair characterization, that we feel that we've utilized all the available options within the community charter that are available.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess having clarity on what our objective is with with pursuing these options, in the sense that, like, are we trying to just get ahead of the problem? Like, before it's a problem, we know that these are vacant, so we have people inspecting them, and as soon as they become unsightly or have people living in them or become a fire hazard, we mobilize to get the owner to upkeep it, which seems like as soon as it becomes a problem, it's reported and we go act on it anyhow. And is there any purpose, like, okay, if we know that there's this many vacant buildings, maybe we can have something that incentivizes people not to have them vacant, so that they're being utilized, so other people can live in them, or that it can be available for a business. That would be another purpose, which I know there's sometimes requests from the community to deal with that, but I don't see that this is a pressing issue at the time, other than, you know, once in a while, like maybe once a year, you know, a request from it. So I'm struggling to mobilize resources to take this any further at this time. Just sort of my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong?
Yeah, thank you. I can't support either, especially when, you know, a definition of a vacant building is more than 30 days. We've got a lot of people that go south for 3 or 4 months, and they would be subject and penalized because of this. So I don't think it's right. I don't think it's as big an issue as some people think. Then if we're to go down the registry road, we're going to have probably 3 or 4 more staff, which we're going to be looking at a bill of probably $500,000 or $600,000 by the time you look at salaries and compensations package, and then software, et cetera, et cetera. We're already at space limitations at the building, and I don't think this solves the problem any more than what we're doing now. I think our people do a really good job of dealing with them right away, and those are the ones we should be dealing with. Is the ones that are got complaints, not the ones that are being maintained. I just see it as a penalty to the law-abiding citizens as well.
Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you, Your Worship. I tend to agree with a lot of Councillor Armstrong's points. However, we have at this table, over the course of a number of years, heard from a lot of residents about derelict properties. So I don't think it's a bad move to ask STEP to go one layer deeper and get us some costing on what this would look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm not going to support the motion. Let me give a very simple example. I own a commercial building, for example, and the market is down and the economy's poor, and it's vacant for a year. This kind of vacant building registry or strengthening vacant building regulation or digging down deeper would require me to pay a fee to the city, and then require me to ensure that I inspected it and do all kinds of things, even though that building may be perfectly maintained, but I can't rent it out at an economic rent, and I'm prepared to wait a little while until the economy changes and I can get an economic rent for it. So basically, you're being punished here for owning property, even though you may be a perfectly respectable owner. Because if you're introducing a vacant building registry program, you can't just say pick and choose. If it's a vacant building, it's a vacant building, whether it's a dump or whether it's a palace. We have heard complaints about properties, and we get complaints. We refer them to Mr. LeBerge. His able department goes out, they discuss it with the fire department, and they deal with them in the appropriate way. They come back to council, we put notices on title. We have plenty of tools existing. Even to take the step that Councillor Hemmons and Eastmere are suggesting to me, when we have overburdened staff already, we're going to ask them to take on another task for something that is frankly gently suggested by our staff, who are the experts in this area, is not a problem, to me is just the wrong way to go. So I cannot support the motion. I'm not seeing any other speakers. All those in favor? Councillors Eastmere, Gesselbrock, and Hemmens, and those opposed, Councillors Armstrong, Mayor Krogh, Councillor Thorpe, Councillor Perino, Councillor Manley. Motion is defeated. Thank you very much. Mr. LaBerge, appreciate the time tonight. Mr. Home, Mr. Harding, etc. We have no bylaws, we have no correspondence. Councillor Eastmere's given her notice of motion, re temporary free parking within city-owned parkades, and that will be brought to the next meeting. We have no other business. Question period, Ms. Gurry, or pardon me, Ms. Vakar, or somebody? Mr. Sims, thank you very much. Mr. Annesley, item 10A5, please. Just introduce yourself for the record. You know the drill.
Yeah.
Welcome.
My name is Jeff Ansley. How you guys doing tonight? Just wanted to ask about the 10% annual increase in grant funding. From my calculations from the 2023 budget, the over $25,000 grant was $5.8 million. I don't have the information of the under $25,000 grant. But if that were the case, that annual increase would be well over $3 million in that 4-year period. Is that correct?
I don't think that's correct, but Ms. Mercer, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I didn't bring the report with me, but I can calculate that and get back to you.
Is that so? Is it? It's just. Is that the overall grants? I see here.
No.
Culture and event grants. Is that just a specific part of the grant
That,
program?
through Your Worship, that is a specific grant.
Okay, so it's not going to be.
It's
the
not all of it.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion for adjournment. Moved Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you very much.